What is the best cold calling dialer for real estate investing, real estate wholesaling, or even as an agent? In today's video, I'm going to break down the top cold calling dialers, triple line dialers, 10 line dialers, even 12 line dialers for wholesaling real estate and real estate investing. And I really want to give you a breakdown of every single type of dialer out there so you can make an educated decision on which dialer is best for you. Now, in over 5 years of being a real estate wholesaler, I can tell you I've done basically every single type of real estate wholesaling cold calling dialer out there. I've used Mojo starting out. I've used the free ones. I've used Google Voice. I tried cold calling on CallRail. I've done Xencall. So I've done them all. I really want to break down exactly what's the best dialer you should be using for your own real estate wholesaling business. What's the best one for your budget and everything you need to know about every single type of dialer out there. Before we break down, do me a favor and smash the like button and subscribe, and let's get into it. So the first question, and probably the most important one, is what's a cold calling dialer, right? This might seem very confusing starting out in real estate, and I get it. I really didn't even know what a dialer was until I had an epiphany of cold calling. So I used to cold call a lot in my dorm room, did a lot of virtual wholesaling, and I used to do it one at a time, hand dialing on Google Voice, putting people's phone numbers in there and cold calling from there. And I can tell you right now, I get through maybe 30, 40 an hour. It was a lot, but I kind of eventually for free, I didn't even know what a dialer was, just got a system of copying and pasting on Google Voice. And I did pretty well on that. I started making tens of thousands of dollars per month just cold calling with that system, and I was doing pretty well until I figured out, hey, I could cold call 3 lines at a time and triple my results. I was bought in on there. That's when I basically discovered what a lot of real estate agents were doing was they're using something like a Mojo Dialer. And for example, this was basically in 2018, one of the first dialers out there and first dialing softwares out there, and definitely still an OG right now. And it was really good. So I started using that, and that's when my business started to explode. Basically what that did was it dialed 3 phone numbers at the same time. So if I had a list of 1,000 that would take me around a month to do, I could do that in a third of that time in probably 10 days. And that really made so much things easier. I could organize my data. I could drop voicemails in when someone didn't answer, so I didn't have to manually do a voicemail. Got a lot of good callbacks. And the cool part is a lot of these callbacks, I got a lot of deals from because sometimes people don't answer that initial cold call, but they'll call back and say, hey, who called me, right? And I got a lot of good deals from there, and I was hooked from the beginning. So basically how these softwares work and how that software works is you buy about 10 to 15 numbers. It would call 3 numbers at a time. Let's say we've got 3 numbers dialing and 2 actually pick up. The first one that picks up will go to you. And the next one that picks up usually will go on a pre-recorded message of you maybe not going on the phone, right? Like, hey, can you hear me? Oh, let me call you back. And they'll put it back in line to call instantly. It's a pretty good software. It works really well. And eventually I got a VA to start doing it for me. And Mojo is really what I was starting to do starting out 2018, 2019. And then eventually in 2019, 2020, I started actually using some other dialing services. First one I ever used was Xencall, and then Xencall was a 10-line dialer, and I was able to call 10 lines at a time, which it didn't 3x my results from Mojo, but it basically doubled it and did really well. Eventually, the carriers started not liking the 10-line dialer, and we're going to break down exactly how to do the dialing system the right way today. And I eventually switched over to batch leads when Xencall kind of moved over. They're an international company. There's a lot more regulation with cold calling going, and I needed an American company and a company where I could really scale up with the VAs really well. So let's actually break down exactly every single one of these cold calling dialer services and see which one's best for you. So the first one I really want to break down is Xencall, aka Readymode. A lot of you guys in real estate wholesaling used to see every influencer and their mother talk about Xencall, and I was an aficionado of Xencall, telling everyone to use Xencall. And unfortunately, Xencall back then was the best dialer system out there, but the user interface was terrible. It was really confusing. It was kind of blocky, and it wasn't the best thing out there. Plus, there's a bunch of international fees. It was a Canadian company, but it did the job. You can drop voicemails in. It worked really, really well. And the cost of Xencall is $120 to $150 per month. And then obviously you got to pay for phone numbers on top of that. Here's what the interface looks like. And honestly, like, it's not the best, but I was kind of tech savvy enough where it actually worked for me. They switched to Readymode, so Xencall's not a thing anymore. There's a lot of people searching for Xencall. Is changed to Readymode. The next one is the one that I actually use, BatchDialer, aka ZachDialer.com. This is the one that I use. This is the one I always recommend everybody. So if you want to get a 7-day free trial to this one, it's just ZachDialer.com. Use whatever dialer you want. But this is really the only one I've seen a 7-day free trial on a dialer, so always just check it out. Basically, the reason why I like it so much is I can basically integrate my phone numbers in there from CallRail, and it basically masks it for me, and I save a bunch of money every single month because I have so many CallRail numbers. I save hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single month in extra lines. The way the carriers are right now, the more lines you have, the bigger length of call you have, really helps you reduce that spam likely on the phone when it calls. So BatchDialer is always the best for me. They have really good tools when you have VAs recording conversations, and honestly, it's the best interface. I do all my skip tracing through Batch. most of my SMS, and then I do a lot of cash buyer data from batch leads. It all works together really well. Plus, they're always on top of new regulations from TCPA and from the FCC, so they're always making sure that I'm legally compliant, so, I don't get a $50, $60, $70,000 lawsuit with my cold calling. To me, it's worth it. I save a bunch of money. It's practically free for me because I save all that money with the importing of the numbers. It's around $139 per month, and you can call 3 to 10 lines on it. You should not be going over 3 lines on any dialer service as of this video recording. We'll break down a little more why that is a thing. Here's what the interface looks like. It's a lot more sexier and nicer than Xencall in my opinion, and I feel like it's a lot easier for a VA just to go in there and get it going. Obviously, I can drop voicemails in there, and it works really well. And that's the way I like it. The next one here is Mojo Dialer. I tell everyone, I think Mojo's the second best one out here. It used to be like 3 or 4, but really, since triple line's like the only thing you really need anymore, Mojo is a close second to ZachDialer.com. Now, I'm gonna tell you, in my humblest opinion, I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I really compare it to a Lowe's hammer versus a Home Depot hammer. If you don't know, Lowe's and Home Depot are basically home improvement stores, and you can buy a hammer from each one. Honestly, they get their hammers built and they're pretty much the same quality. You're really not going to see the big difference in the long picture doing Mojo versus batch leads versus any of these. And that's what you got to understand. I think you guys should try each one and see which one is best for you. The costs are pretty much similar. So Mojo, I could tell you right now, I've done probably the most deals from Mojo just because of how long I've been doing it. I'm very nostalgic to it. The interface is basically the same since when I started in 2017 on cold calling. And hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Mojo Dialer's around $149 per month, and this is the interface. It works pretty well. The one thing I don't recommend with it is I don't recommend the skip tracing with Mojo. I just don't think it's the highest quality, but the dialer works really well. It's really more of a real estate agent or realtor type dialer. And honestly, you can integrate it for anything you like. I think it's really well. My VA's always loved it, and usually it's never a problem with me. Next here is another dialer that I never really got into, but a lot of people rave about it. And hey, I've seen a lot of people running 7-figure operations using this one, so I can't knock it. It's actually Calltools. Calltools is around $100, $140 per month. And it's got a lot of the call recording systems that you really like when you're scaling up a company. And this is the interface for Calltools. Actually not looking too bad. And then the last dialer that I recommend is Google Voice. Now, if you don't have any money for cold calling, use the OG, use the free one, use googlevoice.com. Make sure you have one in your zip code. Basically, this is the best free option you can do on here, and it works really well. Just make sure you can integrate Google Voice. You can look online, the tutorials on YouTube, that you switch it when someone calls you. It's not press 1 to call on this number. Make sure you switch that up. Make sure you have your own personal voicemail on there. Make sure you have a zip code in your local market, and it'll do really well. The problem with this is you only get one phone number, so it's really hard to do on a mass scaling system. But if you're using Driving for Dollars, I don't think Google Voice is really going to be that bad for you. So if you're going through less than 1,000 calls every single month, which in Driving for Dollars you really should, Google Voice is probably your best option. Now, if you're starting to call 3, 4, 5,000 a month, you should probably consider buying one of these systems. But as I've said before, it's really Lowe's hammer versus Home Depot hammer. Your scripts, your list, and your skip tracing is going to matter so much more than the type of dialer you have. A lot of you guys out here are having analysis paralysis when it comes to what dialer to use. And the truth is, you just got to pick one and do it. That's why I always recommend just try a free trial if you can. Everyone asks, Zach, should I use PropStream or batch leads for pulling my data? I always tell, hey, go the free trial for both and see which one you like. You're really not going to go wrong with either one. So the dialers that I've just brought out to you, these are ones that so many wholesalers use on a daily basis. And I know people who personally have done deals on every single one. I could tell you right now on Xencall, BatchDialer, and Mojo Dialer, I've done hundreds and hundreds of thousands of real estate wholesaling deals through each one of these dialers. So those are the ones, if I had to pick the top 3, those. I've never gotten a deal from Calltools, but I've never really used Calltools, but I know people that do millions of dollars per year in profits with Calltools. So each dialer I just set forth to you, people have had a lot of success with. It's honestly like baseball, in my opinion. It really doesn't matter what kind of bat you have if everyone's pretty much using the same bat. You know, in the MLB, everyone's using the same, basically, MLB wooden bat. Some have cherry wood, some have oak, some have different brands of bats. But the difference between Derek Jeter having the bat and hitting home runs versus a minor league player, it's not the bat that's giving them difference. It's the actual player. So the truth is, in dialers, it's really the cold caller that's going to make the difference, not the dialer. A lot of people want to say, oh, it's the dialer that's making sure my cold calling stinks. Really, these dialers are done by a lot of great software engineers and people, and they work on this on a daily basis, and people are doing a lot of good results from it. It is not the dialer. It is usually you. If you want to learn exactly how to cold call the right way, actually have the right skip tracing scripts and systems for cold calling, just go to freewholesaling.com. That is my free wholesaling course. Again, there's no way you can actually pay me for real estate wholesaling information. There's 0 ways for you to do that. So you got to go to freewholesaling.com and get it all for free. Just remember, guys, you need to choose what dialer you want. I recommend you don't spend more than 24 to 48 hours deciding and just go out here and take action. I feel like every single dialer you're going to do the best one. I personally recommend ZachDialer.com, but you're not going to go wrong with any other one. Go out here, take action, and you got this. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Check out freewholesaling.com, smash that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Have a blessed one.